And it has been 8 days since Donald Trump decided to turn Washington, D.C. into a police state, sending National Guard troops into the streets of the nation's capital and disrupting life for hundreds of thousands of D.C. residents. But if you ask Trump, the whole thing's been a huge success based on one single metric.
People that haven't gone out to dinner in Washington, D.C. in 2 years are going out to dinner, and the restaurants the last 2 days were busier than they've been in a long time.
I've made Washington, D.C. just an incredible place in literally 4 days. I have friends that say they're going out to dinner. Did you see what's happening with the restaurants? They're bursting.
Yes, some of my best friends are going out to dinner. D.C.'s restaurants are bursting with people. They've been busier in the last 2 days than they've been in a long time. To be clear, increasing restaurant attendance is hardly a justification for turning an American city into a police state. But put that aside for a second, because like so much of what Donald Trump says, his claims about D.C. restaurants bursting with people is, to say the least, factually challenged. According to data from the reservation booking site OpenTable, restaurant reservations in Washington, D.C. plummeted during the first week of Trump's D.C. takeover. The day after Trump made his announcement, reservations were down 27% from the same time the previous year. The next day, reservations dropped even further, down 31%. I should note that this week is D.C.'s annual restaurant week, and restaurants are hoping that that will drive more reservations in the coming days. But the small business owners who run those restaurants say Trump's D.C. takeover has already hurt business in the district.
Friday was the worst Friday in history. We lost a little more than $15,000 in that night.
Mark Rutstein is the co-owner here. He says Wednesday night, authorities set up a checkpoint right outside his bar. He says this outside his front door is keeping foot traffic away.
This is something that I can't control.
If we can't make our payroll, we can't pay our staff, we can't stay open.
On 18th Street Northwest in Adams Morgan, David Perusa has seen a similar, unusually low turnout at his bars the past week.
It's been miserable. We saw a decline in sales by $7,000 on Friday. Right now, it's a ghost town, and it was a ghost town last night when I went out. It was a ghost town on Friday. It was crazy.
A ghost town. That's how D.C. business owners are describing their city under martial law, while Trump claims that his D.C. takeover is great for business. And you might be thinking to yourself, okay, nobody wants to eat out in a city overrun with armed troops, but maybe people can still patronize those restaurants by ordering food for delivery. Well, I got some bad news for you there as well.
It was just before 11 a.m. in Columbia Heights.
¿Qué motivo te dieron?
A food delivery driver is put in handcuffs by several federal agents. I asked the man what reason he was given for his arrest. He responds, "They're taking me away." Neighbors reminding the man that he has the right to remain silent. These women tell me he's a delivery driver who works every day outside the restaurant where they work. They tell me he's humble and hardworking.
You're in an unmarked car right now.
D.C. neighbors were outraged that officers didn't identify their agency, some even concealing their faces.
Masked agents in unmarked cars grabbing a food delivery driver off the streets and hauling him away, presumably to one of Donald Trump's many immigration prisons. It's hardly an isolated incident. This photo was taken by another D.C. resident who went outside his apartment to check why his food delivery was taking so long, and he found masked agents arresting his delivery driver. The video shows what appears to be the arrest of a Grubhub delivery driver in D.C. A reporter who witnessed the arrest told us that roughly 20 police officers and immigration agents were present to arrest one driver. That reporter also told us the driver was sobbing, asking for his family, and he had to be taken away in an ambulance. Donald Trump wants people to believe his sweeping law enforcement policies are making life better for regular Americans, but the exact opposite is true. His takeover of American cities, his attack on immigrant communities, his weaponization of our justice system. It's all making life worse for the people experiencing it up close. And instead of reducing crime, it's actually taking resources away from legitimate crime-fighting efforts. Today, MSNBC's Ken Dilanian reports that the Trump administration is simultaneously slashing the workforce at the FBI while diverting resources that the agency has left to Trump's pet issues. Quote, current and former FBI officials tell MSNBC the changes are coming at the expense of the FBI's role protecting the U.S. from terrorists, hackers, and spies, as well as its traditional missions of fighting white-collar fraud, public corruption, and child sex crimes. Multiple current and former FBI officials say they've already seen that happening over the past several months as agents have been diverted to immigration enforcement and veterans with years of experience have left the Bureau. So, federal agents trying to stop terrorism and sex crimes are being diverted away from that important work. But if you ask Donald Trump, none of that is a concern.
Are you concerned at all that some federal officers that are helping D.C. police might be being pulled away from other high priority assignments?
Like what? Like what?
Terrorism, for example.
Oh, really? Terrorism?
Oh, really? Terrorism? Yes, terrorism is actually something people want federal law enforcement to stop. Trump's takeover of federal law enforcement isn't about taking crime seriously or keeping America safe. It's about punishing people. Whether you're punishing immigrants with no criminal records or people living in blue cities that didn't vote for Donald Trump or Democratic politicians Trump doesn't like, as we get more and more evidence of that every day. You may remember this scene outside an immigration detention center in Newark, New Jersey. It was a couple months ago. Federal agents arrested the mayor of Newark for allegedly trespassing the property. Those charges were later dropped, but today we learned that the order to arrest a sitting Democratic official came straight from the top. According to a court filing, body cam footage from one of the officers involved in that arrest includes audio of an officer saying that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Trump's personal attorney, if you'll recall, told officers to arrest the mayor of Newark. Quote, "I am arresting the mayor even though he stepped out. I'm going to put him in cuffs. We are arresting the mayor right now per the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. Anyone that gets in our way, I need you guys to give me a perimeter so I can cuff him." The people Trump has installed at the Justice Department and the FBI are acting like Trump's personal intimidation squad. They're using their power to target Democratic officials who get in the way of Trump's agenda, and they're doing it in increasingly bizarre ways. For instance, this was the scene outside the home of New York Attorney General Letitia James last Friday. Take a look at the guy in the trench coat. He's not a Columbo impersonator. It's Trump DOJ official Ed Martin, the January 6th apologist who now has a special job at Trump's Justice Department investigating Democratic elected officials. Back in 2023, Attorney General James brought the civil fraud suit against Donald Trump, where he was found liable for committing fraud in his businesses. And after Trump took office again, his Justice Department decided to go after Letitia James. The DOJ announced that Ed Martin would be in charge of investigating Attorney General James for potential mortgage fraud, allegations that she vehemently denies, which is why I guess Ed Martin showed up at her home last week dressed like a 1970s TV detective to conduct his investigation. But the residents of Attorney General James' Brooklyn neighborhood were not having any of it. Just look at what happened when one resident confronted Ed Martin about why he was there.
Why won't you be honest with me about what you're doing? You are acting suspicious on my block in front of my neighbor's home, and you're not telling me what you're doing. That's not true.
Interesting houses. It's important houses. So, thank you.
It's not. It's just like every other track house on this block that was built by developers.
Right. They're beautiful. Beautiful neighborhood.
Thank you.
I mean, you guys call this a stoop?
What do you think?
I don't know. It's a stoop. We didn't have stoops where I was growing up. Is this a stoop?
Is this a stoop? You call this a stoop, you say? I guess the Columbo disguise wasn't as effective as Ed Martin thought it would be. Trump's attempts to turn the Justice Department into his own personal enforcers is, of course, dangerous and cause for concern. But if there's one reason to be hopeful, it's that none of Trump's hand-picked enforcers have proved themselves to be particularly serious people. They're not good at disguising their agenda, at convincing the public that they're doing anything other than Trump's bidding. They're also not particularly good at their jobs. Nothing makes that reality more clear than the Justice Department's bungled response to the calls for the release of the Epstein files. They've been getting this wrong since Attorney General Pam Bondi's ridiculous stunt, where she gave internet influencers big binders full of stuff that everybody already knew. Months later, they haven't improved much. For example, today was supposed to be the deadline for Trump's DOJ to comply with a congressional subpoena for the Epstein files. But instead of meeting that deadline, the Justice Department now says it will start releasing some piecemeal information to Congress about Jeffrey Epstein starting this Friday, thus likely keeping the drip drip, drip of information about Epstein dripping for some time to come. Trump's Justice Department acts like it can do whatever Trump wants. But even when they do, they're constantly bungling things in ways that end up making things work for themselves and for the man they work for.